A reading from the Good News of Jesus according to Matthew, chapter 9, beginning at verse 35. Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, curing every disease and every sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the labourers are few. Therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send out labourers into the harvest." Then Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to cure every disease and every sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, also known as Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. Philip and Bartholomew. Thomas and Matthew the tax collector. James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus. Simon the Cananean, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. Now these 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. You received without payment. Give without payment. This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
We don't usually think about laughter and faith belonging together. Often we laugh at frivolous or slightly crazy things, but we usually reserve our best behaviour, like our best shirt, for visiting the serious things of God. So there's something slightly shocking about the Old Testament reading today. Sarah is old, beyond the years of childbearing, and when she eavesdrops on her guests, telling her husband that she'll bear a child, she laughs. What would those men know is clearly what she is thinking. And then she's caught out and compounds her offence by saying that she did not laugh. To which the visitor, the Lord, replies, "Oh, yes, you did laugh." There's a wonderful playfulness about this encounter between Abraham and Sarah, the mysterious 3 visitors, who may be angels or perhaps even God himself. And of course, Sarah does get pregnant and bears a child who is named Isaac. God's promise to Abraham is fulfilled. And Sarah says of the whole experience, "God has brought laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me." And she said, "Who would have ever said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age." God's economy of salvation, his plans and promises, often come from a most unlikely source. Like in this story, from an old man and his barren elderly wife. There's something laughable, ridiculous about this story. But it's also a story filled with a delightful laughter that is both unexpected and full of joy. Many years ago, I came across a line drawing, a sketch of an imagined Jesus. He had long hair and a beard and looked like he probably surfed at Bondi Beach most days. His head was thrown back as he laughed. It's quite a well-known drawing, The Laughing Jesus. The artist has portrayed Jesus as a European. There's not a hint of dirt or dust or Middle Eastern features in his drawing. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that Jesus is laughing, joyously, unself-consciously. How strange. Most of the imagery connected with Jesus shows the pain of the Passion, or at least a deeply reflective rabbi trying to reach the hearts of his disciples with increasing frustration and lack of success. Well, I love that drawing of the laughing Jesus. Today's gospel is very serious. Jesus sends out the 12 disciples to begin their mission of sharing what they've known and seen and experienced as followers of the Rabbi. He gives them clear instructions about their tasks, what they are to wear and say and do. And it all sounds pretty grim. But you can read the passage differently. You can read the passage with the eyes of the laughing Jesus. He calls the 12, and as Jesus looks at each one of them, they are named. And it's not hard to imagine Jesus wondering what a mess they will make of his tasks. Simon, impetuous and a bit unreliable. Andrew, the quiet junior brother, always in Simon Peter's shadow. James, the strong fisherman with real courage, but not always the brightest spark in the fire. His young brother John, wet behind the ears, and so on. Even to Judas, who was to betray Jesus. He looked on them and loved them, and probably laughingly considered what a jumbled hodgepodge of local Galilean humanity he had for his team members. Jesus' instructions are simple. Travel light, he says. And in modern psychobabble, he'd probably have added, and don't sweat the small stuff. Travel light and keep your eyes fixed on the main business, proclaiming and celebrating that the kingdom of heaven has come near. Sometimes I think that those of us who are contemporary followers of Jesus need to recapture something of this message. Too often our faith seems a burden that we carry. We want other people to carry too. Remember what Jesus said though, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Is that what people would say about our faith? That it's easy and light? We slip and slide around our lives, focusing on all the wrong things. Complex relationships, unresolvable dilemmas, easy judgments of others, concerns about our physical comfort or our moral righteousness, philosophical conundrums, endless comparisons. All very heavy. Instead of doing what Jesus asked of us, to travel light and to focus only on those things that really matter, that herald the coming of God's kingdom. And wouldn't our capacity to be ambassadors for Christ be enhanced by a bit more laughter, by not taking ourselves too seriously, by replicating the provisionality of those first 12, and by learning like them to rejoice in our own contradictions and silly foibles? Yes, the way of Jesus is serious. It's full of high hopes and expectations. But the way of Jesus is also low, light, provisional, joyful, and full of unself-conscious laughter. For he knows us and loves us and calls us to follow him, not because we're special, but simply because we are loved. So let's laugh a bit more. Let's laugh at ourselves a bit more, like Sarah, and find God working mysteriously through our messy lives. Let us have the courage to look for the laughing Jesus in the gospel stories, beckoning to us through all the trace of our lives, to laugh with him and to share his life and his love with others. May God bless you this Sunday and for the week ahead.